Hello, Revere, and welcome to another show. We have another great guest here. He's running for Councillor At-Large. His name is Michael Zaccaria. Michael, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Same here.
Before we start, I always ask people about their education, so can you expand on it for me?
Revere school systems until high school, and then onward from there to multiple training and college courses I took. I was fortunate enough to have a lot of great training given to me by the government and Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Terrific. But before we went on the air, we were talking in generalities, and you mentioned that you are Chief of Operations. Exactly, Chief of Operations of what?
Action Emergency Management Services, located in Revere.
Yep, and what did they do?
So we're an emergency management company that goes in when there is a disaster of some sort to manage the incident. It could be from just securing a building after a fire, a loss, a hurricane, to taking care of an environmental cleanup, a trauma cleanup. We also have another division that handles maintenance on vehicles, auto body, and towing. But the main company is the emergency management company.
So, in other words, if someone has a house fire, let's say, what do you do exactly?
We'll go in, we'll assess the property, see the dangers, if it just needs to be secured, winterized, if there's any environment issues that need to be cleaned up. So when we leave the property, unfortunately, there was some type of a loss or disaster there, but it looks clean, it's safe, and we try to manage it and make it easy for the residents or the property owners to move on with it.
Do you make it like a decision whether the building is structurally sound to live in or whether the person has to be moved out of there?
So we are licensed construction supervisors.
Like
and we
structural
have
engineers?
Yep. And, but we'll cooperate with the fire department and the local inspectional services to see what the integrity of the building is.
What is the best way to prevent the fires in a house? Do you have any ideas? Because sometimes people do foolish things, fall asleep with a cigarette, for example.
Well, one thing the fire service has done over the last couple of decades is unbelievably improved in fire prevention. Fire prevention is huge. That prevents a lot of what our fires have gone down in the last 15, 20 years, probably by 60 or 70% from what it used to be. To be aware of your surroundings is important in the house. Try to keep any hazards from causing an issue, and then it'll prevent the little disasters that happen.
And have fire alarms on every floor.
Smoke detectors.
Smoke detectors too.
Yep.
That's terrific. This is going to take you back a long time, I think even before you were born. Sandy's rides. Tell us a little about that.
So I remember a little bit about Sandy's rides on the beach, not much. My grandparents had amusements on Revere Beach. I do remember theirs, and I remember a lot about Hurley's rides and so on.
Tell us a little bit what it was like.
So it's, we have a lot of video of it. My grandfather, back then video cameras weren't big, but my grandfather got one, so he has a lot of video that we've got to see over the years of Revere Beach and all the rides, photos. It's exciting to listen to the stories, to talk about it. Every time I have a conversation, my grandfather has now passed away, every time I have a conversation with my mother or my uncle, it's a new story that I didn't hear before about the rides and the people, and even meeting people to today. I was out having dinner the other day in Revere, and I met a gentleman that actually used to work at Bianchi's Pizza and come to my rides, and my cousin Walter used to let him ride if he brought him a couple of slices of pizza, as long as there was no crowd there.
Right.
So it's always a new story, and so many people have spent their life down there that I run into, and it's just great.
It was great too, because I used to take my kids down there to go on the ride. There used to be the ponies that used to go around on the merry-go-round there. Yep. That was terrific. And I've got to tell you, it's a shame we don't have that anymore.
You know, it is, and every time we ride down the beach we think about that. And my mother still to this day. We also, outside of the amusements, had a house on Ocean Ave, where now is the new Vanguard building. That was where my mother was born, and my grandfather had the house right behind his amusement rides. So every time we go by there, we think about it. We probably, I would say we never drive down the beach without my mother saying, oh, I miss my house so much.
That's pretty good. Now, another thing is I want to talk to you about the Salvation Army that you were with for 17 years, you said?
Yep, 17
Tell us a
years.
little about that. What made you get involved with that organization?
So, being involved with the disaster services, seeing what went on out there, always trying to find a new way to help. Well, I ran across the Salvation Army that was doing a lot of work at the fire scenes and disaster scenes, and they had asked me if I wanted to get involved, and I did, on a small capacity when I originally started out, just going out trying to help at disasters. And throughout the 17 years, tremendous relationships. I traveled around the country with them to disasters, unfortunately. I was at the World Trade Center the third weekend, which is something, you know, I will never forget. Obviously, the country won't. And it was a great experience of helping people, being there. The Salvation Army is a great organization.
It is, it is. But I got to ask you, is that like similar, like the Red Cross, they do the same type, similar type of work?
It is, so that, well, the Red Cross does a lot with, you know, housing the families, helping the families. The Salvation Army does that too. Big part will help the families, try to find housing, but they're huge in the support for the first responders.
Oh, I see.
Fire, police, EMS, incident commanders.
Like the incident that just happened recently in Las Vegas, they were right out there too?
I did, yes, they were, and I actually heard that they had a, because I still get newsletters from the Salvation Army. I've retired now probably about 5 years ago, and they had at one point asked people to stop bringing stuff and helping because they received so many donations.
Wow,
and
that's
we
good.
received so much. After 9/11, I came back to Boston, and our disaster unit here received so much support, donations. It was unbelievable. It was overwhelming.
If my memory refreshes me, I remember a long time ago, 9 firemen got killed in one of the buildings in Boston on a fire. 9 of them died. And I think that the Salvation Army was down there right away to help the ones that survived.
They were. That was before my time, but I do.
I think you've heard about it.
Yep.
Yep. When you were with the Salvation Army, what were some of the worst disasters that you encountered?
Well, the World Trade Center would probably be the worst one.
You was down there?
I was down there. Third weekend. Some of my specialties is tactical command incident, also confined space, structural. So I was a good pick to go down there because I would know my way around. No matter where you went, everything looked the same. People were great, though. You know, everybody was trying to help everybody. A lot of guys have come back since then and you know, come down with illnesses. Firefighters, first responders, people that just volunteered. Everybody was trying to help.
That's pretty good. Now, you enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Yes.
Tell us how old you were when you started and what it was like.
So I was 18.
Yep, that's a young man.
Yep, and Desert Storm was just going on, and I had a couple of options. I was going to was looking at going on the Revere Fire Department or a fire department, but the great George Colella, who was
the mayor at the time.
The mayor at the time was working to put me on the permanent reserve list for the fire department. I had an option of starting a company back then at that same time, but I really wanted to go in the Corps. So I enlisted, and then it was a great feeling to think about going and serve my country.
I was going to ask you, if people do have a disaster or did have one, and they wanted to contact you, how would they get to you, either by email or phone? I mean, how would they? So
phone, our phones are answered 24 hours a day.
Can you give me a main number of them?
Sure. It is 1-800-BOARD-IT. BOARDIT.
Oh,
Or
boy.
781-286-3900.
So, oh, just like the company, boarded.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Now, I want to talk to you about what made you decide to run for Councillor at Large. I mean, that's a tough job because that covers the whole city.
So most of my 46 years I've been involved in everything that's gone on in the city. Back to when Bob Hass was in, had recently got in office, we were trying to come up with an idea, something to do for kids on Halloween. And my mother actually came up with the idea, why don't we have a big party for them? And we got a lot of donations of volunteers, and we called it Family Fright Night. And the crime rate went down the first year by 50%, because all these kids, instead of out throwing eggs and shaving cream, they were at a fun time. And we held it first year at the Lincoln School. We had a large turnout, about 3,000-4,000 people. And it's continued every year since then. And when Mayor Ambrosino got in, he was a great support to us, and they took it over under the rec department and assisted, which was great because it was a lot of work for us to put together. But I've been involved in the city and everything that goes on. Our Action and myself, my family, we've built several parks. You name it, we've done it in the city. And we love this city. So there's a lot of issues that aren't as bad as people think they are, that can be solved. I feel I can bring something to the table to help do that. I have tried, and I've worked under 4 administrations that have been great to work with, and their ears were open. They accepted ideas, and we've made the city a better place every day. And I feel now in this capacity I can really make a difference.
So you work, let's see, with Ambrosino, Bob
Yes.
Hass,
Rizzo,
and
now Enrico.
there you go. Right on up the line.
Right up on the line.
Let me ask you, what are some of your own, I know, what sports do you like? If you, what's
Football
Yep.
and baseball.
Do you ever get involved with the Little League teams or the PAL?
Yep. So myself in Action has always supported the youths in the city and any of the sports. We had teams for the Little League that we supported. We had.
Do you do hockey too? Hockey?
We've supported hockey, but we always kind of favored towards, not favored, but we were involved more in baseball because a very, very good friend of mine was involved in baseball in the city and also a coach for the high school. So he kept us more involved with the baseball, the Little League, the Babe Ruth teams, and we've always, every year with the Columbus Day parades, we'll donate our trucks. They can ride on the back. We've always stayed involved with the youth. The youth's very, very important.
You know, here they call it the Pop Warner League.
Right.
When I was a kid back home in the city, New York, we call it the PAL, the Police Athletic League, which I was a little player too myself.
Really?
Yeah, not much good, but played more. And it's good because it teaches you to be more coordinated, really.
Right, and it really sets the groundwork for real life. When you go to school all day, you get there at 7:30, you're there, now you get out and you have to go practice. Before you know it, it's 6 o'clock at night. And that's what real life is, a lot of hard work.
Right, it teaches you to succeed and it teaches you to fail.
Right.
And you can accept both of them like a gentleman. Good, I like that one. Some of your hobbies.
Well, hobbies. So, between my career and my life, I don't have much time for hobbies. My hobby's my family. My 2 kids, my wife, we have a lot of fun together. So those are my hobbies. I do enjoy sports, obviously.
What's your favorite sport? Baseball, I assume, or football?
Football, until recently.
Oh, okay. I won't go into that, but go ahead.
But yeah, football until recently. But baseball I do love. It's just a little slow for me.
Oh, you like basketball?
Yeah, fast sports.
Well, hockey would be a fast one.
Hockey, I love. My son's 4. He loves hockey. Loves going to the Bruins games.
That's great. Your role models. Who are some of the people that you would like to? Who are your role models?
So my role models, first and foremost, is my grandfather, Mike Zaccaria.
I want to talk about him later.
Okay. Everything I do every day of my life for 46 years is based on what I've learned from him. He's been gone a while now, and he talks to me every day. When I go to make a decision, and you know, when I went to make the decision to run for Councillor At-Large, I heard him say, "Are you crazy?" But and then at the same breath, he said, "You'll be great at the job." But he's my biggest role model. It really is.
Right. Now, before we went on the air, when I asked you your name, you said your grandfather's name has the same name as you, Michael Zaccaria.
Yes.
He's a World War II
veteran.
veteran. I want to be correct on that. Tell us about the family of his and what it was like, him being in the service, the stories he told you.
It was a lot of great stories. So he was in World War II, South Pacific. He volunteered to be on a mine sweeper and destroyer.
Yep.
He loved it. A lot of great photos that we've seen that he brought back from the South Pacific. He was also a ship fitter. When he was out there, he'd fix work on the ships. And he came back and worked in the Navy Yard for years.
And what did he do after he got out of the service?
After he got out of the service, because he was so good he was a welder, he was a ship fitter, he came back and he worked there. He'd worked in the Navy Yard. He had also at the same time had the amusements on the beach.
Was that the Quincy Navy Yard?
No, Charlestown.
Oh, Charlestown Navy.
Yep. So he had, that's why I say following his footsteps. He had that. He was a master electrician also. So he had a couple of jobs.
That's pretty good.
At the same time.
Mike, since you're running for the City of Revere, what improvements would you like to see if you had the authority to make them?
So this is a great city. And I've heard a lot of voices over the years of concerns of people in the city and what they see going on around them. A lot of the issues could be solved if public services are handled properly. So our fire department is taxed out. They have more runs than most cities in the areas do in 1 year. They do a great, unbelievable job with the resources they have. Our police department, great job. DPW. If we have great city services, a lot of the other problems go away. They can handle them. That's where it starts, is with the city services. The need for that is important. Our inspectional services, that is what I'd like to improve on. And they do a great job with the resources they have. Our city services do an unbelievable job. They always answer the call. I work all over the state. I've been all over the country. I've seen other fire and police departments, how they operate, what they're given to operate with. I see some volunteer fire departments that have better resources than we have in small towns that maybe have one fire a year. We need more support for our city services.
That's terrific. Now, I was going to ask you, where you are as Chief Operations Officer, can you help the people who have, what their houses are destroyed, building new houses as well?
Yes, we do. So we have a division that we do total dismantling. We can dismantle the building, take it down, and also bring in the people to rebuild the building and put a new house back. That's part of what the management will. We could manage the operation from the beginning right down to the end, to where we give the keys back and let the people go back in the house.
Right.
Into their new home.
And I was going to ask you, if a person, let's say, is burned out and the Salvation Army is busy or the Red Cross is busy, does your organization have like mobile homes or portable housing that they have?
So we do have, in our company, we have a truck that's a rehab unit. It's called a rehab unit.
It's like a mobile home.
It's a mobile feeding unit, so we can go out. It has a stove and a refrigerator, coffee. We can actually go out and set up and serve food and keep people going. And then we have a bus that we use as a command post.
But you don't have a mobile home that you would give to a person, let's say he was burned out of his house?
Not to stay in, but
That's
we can go out there until the other agencies get there and actually take the people out of the element, put them inside the truck, keep them safe and warm, give them some food. We carry toys on the trucks for the kids. You know, it makes a big difference. Obviously, you look at the kids, they go through a traumatic time and a disaster. They don't understand what's going on. So if we can give them a few stuffed animals, it'll take their mind off it.
So can people donate animals or toys for you to give to the kids if they wanted to?
We actually have two 50-foot tractor trailers on our property at Action's headquarters that we keep donations in, furniture, toys, anything that people want to give. We work with the Veteran Services in Revere.
I was just going to mention that to you.
Yeah, we go out and get cars and the electric chairs. We store them down at Action's headquarters. And if people need them, you know, when they have a loss, we say to them, listen, you know, the Red Cross and Salvation Army are there for you. If for some reason there's something they don't have and you need it, give us a call. We'll see if we can help you, if we have it.
I got to tell you, you scared the daylights out of me just now, and I'll tell you why. When you mentioned the electric chairs, Mark Sylvester calls them mobile chairs, you know, motorized chairs.
Yep.
But when I was a kid, the electric chairs meant if you committed a...
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm going to the electric chair.
Like Sing Sing, you get the electric chair for committing, that's bye-bye, you know. So I thought you mentioned that. See how the words changed, though, over the years. Mark, take some free time out to yourself and speak what you would like. But most of all, I would like you to mention your family, your wife, your kids' names, and what they're doing.
So my wife, Danielle.
You've been married how many years?
14.
Right.
And I have a son, 4, and a daughter, 14.
And
they're great.
The daughter's going to Revere schools?
My daughter just got into the vocational school.
Oh, which one?
In Wakefield.
Oh, that's Northeast Vocational?
Yeah, Northeast Vocational School in Wakefield. This is her first year.
Great school, by the way.
She loves it, absolutely loves it. She loved, obviously she was in the Revere schools up until at this point. She loved the Revere schools. We loved the school system.
Right. Now, as you know, Revere needs a new high school. They keep talking about building a new high school. And I asked the same question to everyone else. If you were in charge, where would you put the new high school? And since you're in construction, that should be, where would you put it?
So the Revere High School, they needed a new high school from the day it was built. I have a picture of my grandfather working on the high school. I think it was the first or second year.
The new one?
The current
The
Revere
one
High
that's
School.
there now?
The side wall on East Mountain Ave blew out, had an explosion, overloaded the circuits. And there was a lot of issues with that school right out of the gate. And you know, we're going back some time. I obviously remember the fire of the old Revere High School back in 75, 76. So that the current high school has needed work for years. It was never right. Some of the schools and high schools out there around the Commonwealth, beautiful high schools. If we were going to build one, unfortunately, we're land poor in Revere. To do a bit of a swap, maybe put it up on where the baseball field is now, on the high school property, and then just kind of reverse it. Once it's done, they did a similar...
Someone else mentioned that idea, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it would, you know, it's the high school, you keep it on the property, you got the Rumney Marsh there. That's really the best centrally located place in the city to put that high school. And it could be done easily because you wouldn't have to disturb the current high school.
Right.
Build it up on the other property, and then put the fields, I'm sure the neighbors would like that better too.
Some people mention Wonderland Dog Track, but when you think of Wonderland Dog Track, that's a heavy traffic area there, going to work in the morning up that highway.
For the high school?
Yeah,
No,
I agree with you.
No. Right where it is the best place.
Right.
And to do
And
it,
the land is right there.
the land's right there. It's been done in Wakefield. It's been done in Everett. It's been done in other cities that they've actually added schools next to old schools that there was property. They had a big, maybe a football field or a baseball field, and it works. You can do it. That's the easiest solution for it.
Right. Not only that, but like before, your predecessor, when we talked to him, he mentioned that the traffic, like I said, would be bad, but they can go to the De La Russa Stadium to do their sports while the school is being built there till the old one is taken down, and then the field is put back there.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, the way construction operates nowadays, they move fast. I don't see a disturbance there for more than a couple of years. Once you break ground in a new school and it's built and the doors open, and then you demolish the other one and put the field back. The hardest part is the money. You know?
I was going to mention, that was my next subject coming up to you. If, they estimated the new school would run about 200 million, and or would have run even more than that.
Oh, I don't know about 200 million is a lot.
I know that, but that's what they keep saying. I keep hearing that figure coming here. And the state or the federal government combined will pay 80% of it. But even so, that's still $40 million.
Right. You know, I haven't seen any plans or what they plan on building for 200 million.
That's
I would
quite a
say
high
that
number.
well, I would say that's quite the facility. Let's
Oh.
put it that way. It would be a beautiful facility, I would imagine, with those kind of numbers, and then that should cover the demolish of the old one,
Right.
the new fields put in, and I would say that would take us well into the next 100 years to spend that type of money. I mean, does make sense.
That would be good.
Spend it now, and then we're good for another 100 years.
Okay, Mike, we got about a minute and a half left. I want you to take a minute and wrap it up. Whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
It was a pleasure to have you here.
I'd love to sit here and talk with you for hours. I enjoy it. I appreciate the opportunity we live in a great country, to be able to run for Councillor At-Large. In this country we live in, people can do that.
That's right.
If I'm lucky enough to be elected and the people are kind enough to give me a vote, I will absolutely do a great job for them.
I'm sure you will.
As I've
Mike.
tried to do for the last 46 years for this
I'm sure you
great
will.
city.
Let me say thank you for taking the time to come up here.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you, and wish you lots of luck on your endeavors. I do.
Thank
you. And I would like to thank the people of Revere for listening. Our troops who are serving and who have served, thank you all for your service. Thank you again, people of Revere, but most of all, God bless our great country, the United States of America.